In this lesson, we're going to learn how to multiply rational expressions. And before we go into this lesson, make sure you go back to the previous lesson or one of the previous lessons where we talked about simplifying rational expressions that contain monomial factors. So just make sure you go back and you review the part where you had to simplify rational expressions where the factors are all monomials, because that's going to be needed in this one. So basically what's going to happen in here is that you're going to be given, the problems we're going to be involved with will be rational expressions where factors are just monomial factors. And so that's why I asked you to go back and review that lesson on simplifying rational expressions. So let's look at the first example. So directions will say multiply and simplify. And so number one, let's suppose we had 5x to the 7th divided by 3x times 4 divided by x squared. So notice I am multiplying two rational expressions. So hence the idea of multiplying rational expressions. Also notice that all of your factors are monomial factors, and that's going to be the case for this lesson. So all the problems we're going to do will be monomial factors. And so there are a couple of ways that you could deal with this problem. So one of the things you can do is you can go ahead and reduce first or simplify first and then multiply. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this over. So I have 5x to the 7th divided by 3x times 4 divided by x squared. So basically, if you look at the first factor you see is 5. So will 5 reduce with any factor that's in the denominator? No. The next factor you have are 7 factors of x. Will any of these factors of x reduce with any factors of x in the denominator? Sure. This one and this one as well, right? So listen carefully. So here's an approach you could take. All right, so this x, this factor of x, will divide into one of these, and you're left with 6, right? Okay. And don't forget, remember in previous lessons, whenever you strike this out, make sure you remember that that's a factor of 1. Now, I have how many factors of x left? I have 6 factors of x. Will any of these reduce or divide out with any of these down here? Yep, there are 2 of them here. So all of these, I remember when basically you're taking x squared and dividing it by x squared. So x squared divided by x squared is 1. And then you're going to do the same thing here. So you're going to take x to the 6 divided by x squared. So basically you're going to simplify this. You're going to divide this by x squared, and so you're left with 4. So notice that this is becoming a little bit messy. So you got to be a little bit careful with your handwriting. All right. So that takes care of all the factors. I can't reduce any further. So therefore, the answer is going to be 5 times x to the 4th. Be careful, x to the 4th times 4. So that's 20 x to the 4th. Okay. Divided by, and then that's 3 times 1, which is 3. Okay. Now the other way you could have done this, and think about that, is to go ahead and multiply the numerators together and multiply the denominators together and then simplify. So basically what we did first here was we simplified and then we multiplied numerators and multiplied denominators. Now always remember, you want your final answer as one rational expression, not two, one rational expression. Okay? So what you could have done here was just go ahead and multiply all the numerators together. So 5 times 4 times x to the 7th is 20 x to the 7th divided by 3 times x squared is 3x cubed. Because remember, when you multiply like bases, you add exponents. So x times x squared is x cubed. And now that kind of looks like the previous lesson, that lesson I was asking you to look at. So if you take that out, you'll see what I'm talking about. So you see like this, where you have just one rational expression and they're all monomial factors, and you reduced. That's what this looks like, right? So some students prefer this, some students prefer this. It's up to you. This gets a little bit messy at times, so you do got to be careful when you have all these monomial factors floating around. And now we just do this. 20 and 3, I cannot reduce that. But here I have 7 factors of x in the numerator, 3 factors of x in the denominator. I have more up here, so all of these will divide out, and then the 3 factors of x here will divide into this, and you're left with 4. All right, so the answer is going to be 20 x to the 4th divided by 3. And the same thing here. So it's up to you which approach you use. Again, many students prefer to go ahead and multiply first and then reduce. All right, so it's up to you. Okay, number 2, let's suppose we had this in number 2. We had 3z divided by x cubed times 4x divided by 6z to the 5th. Okay, so 3z divided by x cubed times 4x divided by 6z to the 5th. All right, so you can do it the simplifying first and then multiply, or you can multiply first and then simplify. So either one of these approaches is fine. So let's go ahead and do both, just to kind of show you what's going to happen. So if you look at the first factor, 3, will 3 reduce with any factor in the denominator? Yeah, it will, 6, right? So 3 into 3 is 1, 3 into 6 is 2. Okay, now let's get the next factor, z. Will that factor of z reduce with any factor of z down here? Yep, because there are 5 here, right? So z divided by z is 1, and then I'm removing one of them from here. That'll leave me with 4. Okay, so I have z to the 4th left. The next factor is 4. Will 4 reduce with any factor down there? Yep, with this 2. So 2 into 2 is 1, 2 into 4 is 2. The next factor is x. Will x reduce with any factors down there? Yeah, I have 3 factors right here, 1 right here. So x divided by x is 1. X cubed divided by x is x squared. And that's about all you can do. So I get 1 times 2 times 1, which is 2. X squared times 1 times z to the 4th is x squared z to the 4th. Okay? Again, notice, see how messy it becomes? So you got to be careful. So you could have, if you wanted to, you could have multiplied first. So if I can remember what this was, that was 3 times 4 is 12. Z times x, or x times z, right? Divided by, and over here, that was 6 x squared z to the 5th, right? And that's what we had. So 6 x cubed, excuse me. So 6x cubed z to the 5th. All right, so then we can reduce. So 6 into 6 is 1. 6 into 12 is 2. And then I have 3 factors of x in the denominator. I have 1 factor of x in the numerator. So this will divide into itself 1 time. And here I'm left with 2. And same thing here. That's 1. And I'm left with 4. So it becomes 2 times 1 is 2. Divided by 1 times z squared times z to the 4th is, x squared, is x squared z to the 4th. Okay, so you get the same thing. So it doesn't matter what approach you take. It does not matter. Okay, number 3, we have 3 z to the 5th divided by 7 times 42, it looks like 42, divided by z cubed. All right, so here, again, look at your factors. My first factor is 3. Will 3 reduce with any factor on there? No. The next factor is z to the 5th. I have 5 factors of z. Will that reduce with anything on there? Yeah, it will with this one. So I have more up here. So that means that all this will divide into itself. You're left with 1. So I'm dividing this by 3 of these factors. You're left with 2 up here. And then for 42, that's going to reduce with this one, with the 7. So 7 to 7 is 1. 7 to 42 is 6. So it looks like I get 3 times z squared times 6 is 18z squared, divided by 1 times 1, which is 1. So that just gives me 18z squared. Okay? All right, number 4. In number 4, we have 5 x to the fourth divided by 4 times 12 divided by x to the fifth. So I have those two rational expressions. I want to multiply those rational expressions. And I also want to simplify. All right, so let's look at the first factor of 5. Will 5 reduce any factor down there? No. The next factor is x to the fourth. I have 4 factors. Will any of these reduce to anything down there? Yeah, I have 5 down here. I have 4 up here. So I have more down in the denominator. So all of these will divide out because x to the fourth divided by x to the fourth is 1. And I have 5 down here, so I'm going to be left with one of them. Okay? And then over here, the 12 and the 4 can reduce. That's going to 4 and 4 is 1. 4 and 12 is 3. And so it looks like you're going to get 5 times 1 times 3 is 15. Divided by 1 times x to the first is x. So I get 15 divided by x. All right, number 5. Number 5, let's suppose we had this for number 5. All right, 5 we have 3 x to the fourth y to the sixth divided by 5 z to the fourth times 3 x cubed divided by 5 y squared z to the fifth. Okay? Okay, so let's look at what we have here. If you want to, you can go ahead and multiply first. That's what most students would do. Because if you try to simplify first, you can get a lot of strikeouts all over the place. So you're going to have a lot of markings on here. And we can do it both ways just to show you. So for example, see that first factor 3, and let me go ahead and rewrite this over. So I can leave this one alone for right now. So 5z to the fourth times 3x cubed divided by 5y squared z to the fifth. So if you look at the first factor of 3, there are no factors down here that this will reduce into. If you look at the next factor, you have 4 factors of x. Do you have any x's down there? No. You have 6 factors of y. Do you have any factors of y down there? Yeah, right here. So you have 2 of them. You have 6 up here. So those can reduce. So y squared divided by itself is 1. Y to the 6th divided by y squared, you're left with y to the 4th. The next factor is 3. Same thing. I cannot reduce. The next factor is x cubed. I don't see any x's down there. And then that's it basically. So it's not really not that bad. So you're gonna get 3 times 3 is 9. X to the fourth times x cubed is x to the seventh. Y to the fourth divided by 5 times 5 is 25. Z to the fourth times z to the fifth is z to the ninth. And that's it. That's your answer. So you simplified first, and then you multiplied your numerators, and you multiplied your denominators, and you wrote it as one rational expression. Okay, number 6. Number 6, let's suppose we had 6z divided by 5y cubed times 35 x to the fifth y to the eighth divided by 6z. Okay, so here it's really not going to be that bad to simplify first. So the 6's divide out, right? And then z's divide out, don't they? All right, now remember, when you strike them out like that, remember you're left with factors of 1, so it's necessary that you put those 1's there. The next factor is 35. 35 and this 5 can reduce, so that'll be 5 and 5 is 1. 5 and 35 divided by 5 is 7. The next factor is x to the fifth. Do you have any factors of x's in the denominator? No. The next factor is y to the eighth. You have 8 factors of y. Do you have any down there? Yep, you have 3 of them. So you have more up here, so that means all of these will divide out, so you're left with 1, factor 1. And then those 3 factors of y will reduce into this, and you're left with 5 of them. And that's it. So you're going to get 1 times 7 times x to the fifth times y to the fifth. So you get 7 x to the fifth, y to the fifth, divided by 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. So you get 7 x to the fifth, y to the fifth. Okay? All right, so that was number 6. And then number 7, let's do one more. So number 7, you're going to have 21, a to the 5th, b to the 5th, divided by 20, c to the 6th, times 4, c to the 7th, divided by 7, a to the 7th, b to the 8th. All right, so again, look at the 21. The first factor is 21. Will 21 reduce if anything on there? Yeah, the 20, that's a 20. I thought it was 24. So that's a 20. Yeah, the 7, right? So 7 to 7 is 1. 7 to 21 is 3. All right, now let's look at the next one. A to the 5th. There are 5 factors of A. Will any of these reduce with any A's down there? Yep, right here, right? So you have more down here. So that means all of these divides out, and then you're left with 2 down there. All right, then the next factor is b to the 5th. You have 5 factors of b. Do you have any down there? Right here. So you have more down here. So that means all of these divide out. So b to the 5th divided by itself is 1. And then when you reduce these 5 factors of b's with the 8 that's down here, you're left with 3 of them. And the next factor is 4. 4 and 20 I can reduce. 4 and 4 is 1. 4 into 20 is 5. See how it's getting a little bit messy, so be careful. And the next factor is c to the 7th. I have 7 up here. I have 6 down here. So all of these divide out. And then you're left with only 1 up here when you reduce. And it looks like you are done, right? So you see it got a little bit messy. So that becomes 3 times 1 times 1 times 1 times c, right? Because be careful. So it looks like that's going to be 3c divided by, and then here that's 5 times 1 times 1 times a squared times b cubed. So that's 5a squared b cubed. And that's your answer. Okay? All right, so that is, in a nutshell, how you would multiply and simplify rational expressions where all of your factors are monomial factors. So that's going to be the end of this lesson on multiplying rational expressions where the factors are all monomial factors.